Hello, second grade. So today we're going to create an African mask using paper and beans. And our learning objectives is to know some characteristics of African masks and to understand that African masks are created for use in ceremonies or events. And I want you to create your own interpretation of an African mask. And so what you're going to do is I've set out a variety of colors. I've got some traditional neutral colors, and when we looked at the African masks we talked about how they are used mostly neutral colors and not anything bright. But I also put out some of these traditional African kente cloth colors that we saw in the book Zumo, the rabbit, the trickster tale from West Africa. So you get to decide what colors you want, if you want to use a variety of colors or just stick with one color palette, neutral or the Zuma colors. So you're going to start with the base of your mask, the main shape that you're going to glue everything onto. And you're going to pick a color from the large paper, just one color from the large paper. And I'm going to choose black. And this is the only time you're going to probably need this large paper. Then I have 4 different shapes for you to choose from for your mask. This shape here that's more of a horizontal shape, and then these 3 are more vertical. So you're going to pick a shape, and I'm going to pick this one, and you're going to place this in the middle of the paper. And the shapes are nice and big, so they're going to probably go from the top of your paper to the bottom of your paper. So you want to get it lined up carefully, and then you're going to trace around it with your pencil. Great thing about black paper is that pencil shows up on the black paper, so you won't need a white crayon or a white color pencil to do this. And then you're going to cut this shape out. Now keep your scraps because you might need them later on, so don't recycle them just yet. Set them aside. Now on your mask you need to write your name and the day you have art, day A, day B, day C. You're going to flip it over, and this is the side where you're going to start to add your facial features. I have created some facial feature patterns for you, some traditional African mask facial feature shapes, and I've written on them what they are. So you can see that this one says eye, and then we have another shape that says eye, and if you flip them over, the other side it's just blank. So make sure that you look at the one side has the name of what it is. So it looks like we have 4 different shapes for eyes, and we have some nose shapes, traditional African mask nose shapes, and then we have some mouth shapes. Alright, so I want you to pick a shape for your nose, your eyes, and your mouth. So I'm going to use this shape for the eye. I'm going to choose this mouth because the chin of my mask is pretty skinny, so I don't want to use any of the mouths that are too big or too wide. And then I need a nose. And notice I'm just using one pattern. Even though it's 2 eyes, I only need one pattern for that. Okay, and then in a separate basket will be those same colors that we had for your mask, the neutral colors, and then those Zuma colors from the book, the traditional kente cloth colors. So I think I'm going to do some yellow eyes. So I'm going to take a yellow piece of paper, and since I need 2 of them, I'm going to take the paper and fold it in half, and I'm going to take the eye shape. And I could put it right here in the middle, but I might want to use this yellow paper somewhere else on my mask, so I'm going to move it. It fits neatly down here, so I'm going to move it to the bottom along the edge, and I'm going to trace one eye, even though I need 2. Leave my paper folded, and I'm going to cut out 2 eyes at the same time. And I'm going to try to make sure that I cut the pencil lines off and that I don't leave the pencil lines on my shape. So there are my 2 eyes. I'll lay those down. Okay, I need 1 nose, so I think I'll do, let's see, a gray nose. I only need 1 nose, so I don't need to fold my paper in half. I could put this right in the middle, but I don't want to be wasteful of the paper. I could use these scraps later somewhere on my mask, so I'm going to move the nose to the bottom, trace around it with my pencil very carefully, and cut that out. I I tried to cut my pencil lines off, but I didn't do a very good job, so I'm going to flip it over and do my pencil lines down. And then I need something for my mouth, so I think I'll do a green for the mouth. I only need one mouth, so I'll put that close to the bottom. Now when you do your mouth, if you do the mouth with the open hole, what you want to do is just trace the outside of the mouth. You want to cut that shape out, trying to cut that pencil line off there. Then you're going to take the shape and fold it in half. And then these are already folded in half, so you can just sandwich them onto your paper, and then you're just going to trace the little hill that's inside. Then take your pattern off. This is important. Remove the pattern so it doesn't get in your way. I'm going to leave my paper folded, and I'm going to cut this hill. And I'm going to try to make sure that I cut around the pencil line, so I end up cutting that off, so that now when I open this up, I have a perfect mouth. Okay, so now I have all of my facial features that I need. But now I want to add those traditional patterns and designs that are on an African mask. So that's where all these scraps come in to play. I'm not going to get any new paper because that would be wasteful. I'm going to use the scraps that I already have. The first thing I'm going to do is I want to add a line, that traditional line going across the eye. So I need the line to be this wide. So I use the eye as a guide. I cut out a rectangle, and then I'm going to cut out 2 skinny strips. And I'm going to glue those right along the middle of the eye. And I'm not putting glue on the little strips because then I would get glue all over my hands. I'm putting glue onto the eye, drawing that line, and that way I can just lay this small little piece right on top of the glue, and then I don't make a big glue mess. So that's a start. But it's not very interesting, so I think I'm going to add another shape around the eye. I think I'll do gray. I need 2 of them. So I'm going to fold my gray scrap in half, and I'm going to lay the eye down, and I'm going to trace around it, but I'm going to leave some space. So I'm going to essentially draw a bigger version of the eye. Remove the eye, cut that shape out. Now I'm going to try and cut the pencil lines off again so I don't have to mess with those. Open these up, lay the eyes down, see if they still fit. If I made them too big, they wouldn't fit across the face. But they fit nicely, so that's good. So I think I'll go ahead and glue the yellow eyes, put a frame of glue on the back, and glue those to the middle of the gray. Okay, and I think these look good. I don't think I need to add any more to the eyes. That's a nice size. So I'm going to add a frame of glue on the back of the gray. And I'm going to glue these onto the black mask base. So I'm going to add some details up here around the eye. And maybe I'll use beans to do that. So we have these dried beans. I think I'm going to use the brown ones to create a dotted pattern around the eyes, almost like an eyebrow. So what you want to do is you want to be generous with the glue, and I'm going to put a nice dot of glue to set the bead down in there. And I'm just doing one glue dot at a time so that I know where I want to put the glue. If I were to do a big line of glue, that would be kind of messy and wasteful, although the glue does dry clear. And this helps me to know how far I want to space these beans out. And remember that African masks are symmetrical, which means they're the same on both sides. So I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 beans. So I need to do 5 beans over here. And you want to be generous with the glue when you're doing the beans. If you're stingy with the glue, the beans are going to pop right off once the glue dries. So you want to be generous, put a nice bead or dot of glue, press the bean down into the dot of glue, and make sure it gets adhered or stuck to it. Alright, so here's my nose. I'm going to put some stripes across the nose, so I think I'm going to use green. So just like with the eyes, I want to cut a piece that's as wide as the nose. Cut a rectangle. And that's what I did for the black line on the eyes. And then I'm going to cut these into strips. And then like with the black line. I'm not putting the glue on the little piece of paper. I'm drawing the glue across the nose where I'm going to put the paper. And that way I don't make a big mess and get glue all over my hands. And I think that's enough. 2 stripes is enough to fill in that space. Alright, so I could glue the nose down as is, but I think I want to add something to it. So just like with the eyes, I think I'm going to do a second nose around it. So I have this paper that's folded from the eyes. I'm going to open up the fold, but I'm going to use that fold as a guide for the middle of my nose and put the middle of my nose right on that fold line. And then I'm going to carefully, I'm going to scoot this up, because remember I'm tracing around it just a little bit bigger than what it already is. And then I'll cut that paper out, and I'm going to cut that pencil line off as I cut around it. Long skinny rectangles. And by doing green at the top of my mask as well as the bottom, it ties it all together and makes you look from the top to the bottom since they're similar colors. So now I'm going to start in the middle of my mask so it's the same on both sides, symmetrical. So I'm going to do 1 stripe up the middle, and again I'm not putting glue on the little skinny piece of paper, I'm drawing the glue on the big paper. And then to make it symmetrical, I'm doing 1 on one side and 1 on the other. And I'm trying to make sure they're the same length. Okay, so now these stripes are clearly too long for my mask. Now, you might like that, and maybe you want to leave your stripes sticking up off the top. Maybe it kind of looks like hair to you, and that's okay. If you don't like that, what you're going to do is give the glue a little bit of time. Make sure you squish these down into the glue. Give the glue a little time to dry, and then we'll trim these off later. So now I'm going to work down at the bottom of my mask. And I think I'm going to add some more beans. Maybe, let's see, we've got some white beans, some small white beans. We have large white beans, but I'm going to use some smaller ones. I think the smaller ones look nicer. Maybe I'll do them along the chin line. So we're doing symmetry, the same on both sides. So I'm going to scoot these up. Again, with the beans, you want to be generous with the glue and press the beans down into the glue. Alright, so there's my beans. And I think I'm going to add a yellow stripe here on both sides. So I'm going to take my yellow paper that's left over, drawing with the glue, not putting the glue on the skinny little paper. And these are too long, so I want to trim these down a little bit. So let's see, I'm going to stack them together, lay them down, and look where I want to trim them. That way they're all the same size and the same on both sides. And I think this is enough to add to my mask. I could add some more stripes here, but sometimes it just, you end up adding so much stuff that your mask doesn't look neat anymore. It looks too busy. And so I think I'm going to leave that alone. And now I'm going to carefully trim these. Now I've done the beans, so flipping this over might be tricky. So I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to use the edge of my black to trim these off. Use the edge of my black paper as a guide. So I'm kind of giving it a bit of a haircut. I'm trying to be really careful not to bump these beans off my mask. Okay, so now I'm going to carefully flip this back over. Oops. And look, my beans did stay on there. None of them fell off, and it's because I was generous with the glue and I pressed the beans down into the glue. I gave the beans a little time to dry. So here is my finished African mask with symmetry. And this is my interpretation of an traditional African mask. Good job, 2nd grade. Hello, 2nd grade. So today we are going to now create this background weaving that goes behind our mask. So far we've created our mask, but now we're going to put it on create a background to put our mask on just to make it pop and stand out. And we're also going to add some cardboard behind it to make the mask stick up off the weaving. So the way that you're going to start is you're going to start either with a white square piece of paper or a black square piece of paper. So my example here, I used a black square. So you can see there's a lot of black. So if I'm going to use this mask to go on front of it, I don't think I want to use mostly black because my mask is black. I want it to stand out from the weaving. So I'm going to use white for my weaving. And you're also going to see that we have 3 different size strips. We have wide strips, medium strips, and skinnier strips. And we're going to use all of those today. So the first thing that we're going to do is create the part of our weaving that's called a warp. And it's the base of our weaving. So you're going to start with your square white piece of paper or black, and you're going to fold it in half. It's a square, so it doesn't matter which way you fold it. Then I'm going to give you this ruler, and it says 2 inches on it, and it's 2 inches wide, so that's why it's called a 2-inch ruler. So on the opening space, the part that you can open up on your weaving paper, your folded paper, you're going to put this 2-inch ruler. And over here is the creased part where I can't open up. And you're going to draw a line from the top of your paper all the way down. And then you're going to turn, and from this line down, you're going to be drawing vertical lines. So since I'm right-handed, I start on the left-hand side of my paper, I line up the ruler on the left-hand side, and I start up at the pencil line, and I draw straight down against the edge of my ruler. Now I slide my ruler over to that last pencil line, draw a vertical line, so that as I'm drawing these are all the same width as my ruler. I shouldn't have some skinny and some fat. And I don't want them to be crooked or diagonal in any way. So if you've done this correctly and spaced them out correctly, you should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines, or if you count the spaces between the lines, 6 spaces. So now you're going to take and cut these vertical lines, and you're going to stop when you get to the horizontal line. So you're going to leave the paper folded, and you're going to cut straight up to the top of that horizontal line. Now since all of our weavings are going to look very similar, it's important you get your name on your weaving. So up here across the top, you need to write your name and the day you have art. Day A, day B, day C. You're going to open up your weaving, and the pencil side, this side with your name, that's the back side. So you're going to flip it over. And actually I'm going to set this aside because now I'm going to make my strips, and I need to make 4 strips that are going to go across. And I'm going to start with large strips. So since my paper is white, I don't want to start with a wide large strip. I want to start with a black large strip. So I don't want to start with white on white. I want to start with black. And I need 4 of them. So I'm going to count out 1, 2, 3, 4. So then I'm going to glue medium strips down on the black. But does it make sense to glue black on black? Can you see black on black? Nope. So we're going to glue white. So I'm going to get 4 white medium strips, and I'm going to glue these across the middle of the black strips. So I'm going to draw a glue line. I'm not going to put glue on the strip itself, the skinnier strip, because I'll get glue all over my hands. I'm going to draw a glue line across the middle of the fat strip, and I'm going to put these medium-sized strips down the middle of the fat strip. So is that in the middle? Nope, it's thicker on this side and thinner on that side, so I need to scoot it down. Also, you don't want to just set the strip down. You want to push your fingers down on the strip to make sure it stays stuck and it adheres to the glue. And even up the ends. Line them up so that you don't have any black space at the end of the white strips. Alright, so there's my medium. So now I need to put skinny strips on. Now, do I want to put white on white? Nope. You can't see white on white. So I'm going to draw a line of glue in the middle of the white strips, and I'm going to find some skinny black strips to glue down, and I need 4 skinny black strips. 1, 2, 3, 4. And when you glue these to the middle of the white, you want to press those down too, and see the black isn't evened up down here, so you need to scoot it down, and then take your finger and rub it across the top of the strip so that it stays stuck. Okay, now by gluing the big strip, the medium strip on the big strip and the small strip on the medium strip, you can see all the colors, both colors on each strip. So now we're going to weave these into our warp. So we get the warp back out. You're going to take 1 strip at a time, and you're going to go over one, pick up the next one, go under it, go over the next one, pick up the next one, go over it, and then under, and you're going to push that up as far as it'll go, right up to the tippy top. So you can see it, not see it, see it, not see it, see it, not see it. So you're creating a pattern. So now on this one, we're going to do the opposite of this. So my strip is on top of the white, you can see it, the strip here, so I need to go under the first wide spot, over the second one, under the third, over the fourth, under the fifth, and over the sixth. And then I need to push this up as close as I can to the first strip. All right, so my next strip, so this strip here is under the white, and this one was over. So I start over this first one, over the first one, under the second one. Sometimes you kind of have to put your hand under there and pull it to get it to stay. And I also try to make sure that I line up the edges of these, and I push them up real close together so that I have enough room to fit my fourth strip on, because this is going to be, actually it doesn't look like it's going to fit, it's going to be a little tight. So since this is going to be tight, I'm going to take my scissors and trim off one side just a little bit, as neatly as I possibly can. If you need to trim it, you can ask me to help, and I'll be happy to help you trim to make sure it fits and so that it's nice and straight. So I'm going to trim both sides down because it's just a little too wide for this space. Okay, so now I go back to, since this one's on top, I go under the first one. Okay, it still doesn't want to fit. So I'm going to trim, I'm going to cut this and make this a little bit longer. Okay, so now let's try. We'll go under the first one. Yep, it fits. And then over this last one's difficult, so you have to kind of wiggle and manipulate the paper to get it to go through. All right, so these are finished. So now I'm going to glue the ends of these strips. So I'm going to lift up the big strip, and I'm going to put a line of glue right at the edge of the white paper and squish that down. Line of glue right at the edge, squish it down. Then I'm going to lift up the white paper, put a line of glue at the end of the strip, squish the white paper down, and same here. And then I'm going to spin it around and do it on the other side. All right, so we're not quite finished. Now we're going to do some vertical weaving. So when we do the vertical weaving, we need medium and small strips. So when we did horizontal, we needed large, medium, and small. Now we just need medium and small strips. So since it's white paper, I start with medium black. So I'm going to need 4 medium blacks. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I need 4 small whites. All right, so I'm going to put a line of glue and then glue the skinny white strips right on top. And I make sure I press down to get those strips to stay stuck. If I just set them on top of the strip, they might not get glued all the way to it. The middle of it might not stick. Okay, and now I'm going to take these medium strips and I'm going to weave them vertical. So I'm going to go under the black strips. Okay, so now I'm going to glue these vertical strips down, but I want to make sure they're right in the middle of that space. And this is nice and right in the middle. So I'm going to lift this long strip up, and I'm going to put a line of glue right up the middle, all the way up the top, so that I can squish this down, line it up with the top edge so that it's all even. Then I lift up the bottom, a line of glue all the way down, and glue that down. Lift this up, line of glue. Okay, this one's not in the middle, it's over to one side, so I'm going to move it to the middle first, then I'm going to lift it up. Okay, so there is my finished weaving. So now I want to glue my mask on, but I don't want to glue it on there flat. I want to make it pop up a little bit and be 3D. So I'm going to flip my mask over, and I'm going to use cardboard scraps. And I'm going to cut some rectangles of cardboard, and I call these pop dots because they make the mask pop up. So I'm going to put a dot of glue at the top, 2, and then 1 at the bottom since the bottom is pointy. And I'm going to press these pieces of cardboard into the glue, and I'm making sure that the cardboard isn't sticking off the sides because that would just not look very neat. Then I'm going to put a dot of glue on each of the pieces of cardboard, and I'm going to put a second piece of cardboard on top to make it stick up just a little bit more. So now I have 2 pieces on each one. So now I put a dot of glue on each cardboard piece. I can close my glue bottle up because I'm finished with it. And then I'm going to carefully flip this over and glue this down. I can glue it down right in the middle, or I could make it crooked a little bit. But I like the idea of doing it crooked, so I'm going to make it kind of be a little bit of a diagonal. Now, I set this down gently, and now what I want to do is I don't want to move it. I just want to gently push down just a little bit where the cardboard is, because that cardboard will slide and move on you because it's wet with glue. So you just want to gently press straight down and then leave it and not mess with it. And then this will go on the drying rack like that. And if you need help to get it on there, since it's 3D and popping up, to get it to fit on the drying rack, come get me. And there you have your finished inspired African mask. Good job, second grade.